Murshid.
Yes.
When you work with the prayers, when you bring them out publicly, like we're doing today, I really struggle with it. I know everybody can see it, so I want to own it. I don't really want to. I probably will cry to talk about it, but it's not that I feel like I just feel like I want to declare it. It's that place. Even this week when I was working with one of my clients, they don't know me. They don't know my story. They're struggling with their own, and this person just began to struggle about, well, this thing about gay people, and I don't know what they're trying to get married for, and I love these people, but I can't compromise my religion. The Bible says this, Scripture says this, and I think every time I hear words to a prayer, I feel how those get turned somewhere later. And it's like when I was a kid, I learned all these creeds where you say, like, I believe this, and I know that he suffered under Pontius Pilate, and I know that, he was born of a virgin, like if I said all those things, and I really was earnest. My heart was open. And I don't want to do it again. I just don't want to take words that somebody else has said and put them in my mouth. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like the persimmons before they're ripe. Don't make me
What?
I don't want to live that again in this lifetime. I would like to just throw religion out rather than have it be used to hurt people again.
That's what Sadhu said at the JK. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every time we start these prayers, I'm like, just breathe. He's very loving. Just breathe. Just breathe. And even though I feel so accepted and so loved by you, I feel completely frozen when you invite me to step into those prayers. There's like, turn on some music, no words, I get up and dance, ask me to get up and get in touch with the divine feminine or whatever, and I can play and all that, but you put the words in and it goes right to that injury. And it's like, I don't know. I just can't get through it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it may well, because of the injury that you receive by people that take words and use them according to their own prejudices, and that, it may not be a right practice for you, but for me, the way I take it is, this was the prayer of Hazrat Khan, who I have had enough inner experience of to trust, that even if the words are, not the form I would put them in, I trust where his heart was, or where his devotion was in saying them, so that I can go in an inner way into a kind of tasawwuri of Hazrat Khan and be genuine in trying to embody this, because I'm going to how I interpret his state as being, truly devotional and truly forgiving and truly accepting and all those things. But when I think the most effective prayer is the one that is your prayer, that rises from you, and that you are that you don't feel any compulsion in, and there's no compulsion in Sufism. Nobody has to do any prayer. Nobody has to even believe in God. It's not. We use our ability to imagine perfection as a way of awakening the perfection inside of us. And whether you call that perfection God or Buddha nature or just what is, we need to go through some process that allows us to bring forth our own inner perfection. And so, if it can't come in words, it can come in some other form. It can come just with the feeling in your breath, just with the feeling in your heart. You know, I mean, and then the words that come out spontaneously from you are your prayer. Those are the most meaningful prayers. But by, it is possible to take a teaching of a being that you respect, whether it's a prayer or other kind of words, and not do what the people who injured you did. In other words, go to the perfection in it, not to the place where I can twist it according to my own ego's need to affirm itself. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is to take just some of these phrases as a way that can touch us and allow us to do it. But I don't really want anybody to just try and do it because that's what we're doing here. It's just another way of coming at it. Like, to invite you to get up and just walk with the sense of being present with the, depth of what it means to be a spiritual guide, to have that sense of that reality in front of you, not how we would aspire to be better at it, but the realized reality of it that one is in relationship with, and to make, be invited to just enter more fully into it. That would be my suggestion for someone who has that kind of a reactivity to it. But, it's like Martin Buber said in the introduction to one of his books. It made a big impression on me as a philosophy student many years ago, because he said, a lot of people say we should just throw out this concept of God because so many wars and so much ignorance has been done in its name. But I think those of us that have a true I-thou relationship with God, we need to hold, keep this alive and to keep showing the beauty and the essence of it, and not just give it up because people have, slandered it in their own ways by, staining it with their own sense of ego and limitation. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go. I feel more comfortable taking that route, because then I don't. I know every time somebody uses the word God, they mean something different, So for me, I mean something by it that I can live with. And so it is when, some of these things come up, I just try and find a way into them from my own sense of acceptance. But I appreciate that, we have a safe atmosphere here, and it's going to be, people shouldn't feel ever that they're, because some practice or something doesn't work for you, that there's something wrong with you, or something wrong. It's just okay. Like I said at the outset, we have to find things that are going to be something that we'll respond to. You wanted to say something, Nizamuddin?
Well, if you hear a Rumi poem, are you do you have that same feeling? Because to some extent, to me, when I hear this, it's like something along those lines to me, where you have like these lines. I'm not, trying to negate your feeling or anything, but it's like an interesting process of discovery of having these lines. For me, it was interesting to feel the Sufi symbol became really strong in, like receiving and just reflecting a little bit and thinking how that maps to, that function of Murshid and Pir and like that within the Ruhaniat or whatever, the star and the crescent particularly. But I just wonder in terms of, in the life of Nizamuddin Aulia, they talked about how they would do sema. And they basically they could read a letter from a friend and some line would catch, and somebody would go into ecstasy and they would keep repeating the line until that person came back. So in a sense, it's kind of like we're doing that kind of sama or or some, to some extent, in this practice.
Well, it is because you weren't allowed to get up to turn or unless you felt it, unless it was not your own ego desire to do it, something in you, and then they would continue, and that's how. Who was it? Wasn't it Kutubuddin Bhakti Akaki? I think he was the one that he went into a state of hall and he turned all night and all the day and with the one phrase. And then he died afterwards. So and that was like the third successor of Moinuddin Chishti. But he recognized at the time, it was kind of like it must have been something in his body that was giving way. So the kind of mastery of not letting himself go into just be lost in ecstasy was taken away by the physical thing. But yeah, that was precisely it. So sima meant listening. Comes from the word savi, means that ability to listen and to respond to the inner hearing of what is. But I like this. This is real. This is a real discussion between people that are trying to live an authentic life, and that's all you can ask for. You can't ask for everybody to believe the same thing. People that hurt you by saying things that but out of their narrowness that has no sympathy for a human being. There's somewhere where we can look at them with love, like you do. Not personally, but okay. Here they are in pain, they're struggling, and they got to live with their own concept structure. They can't throw it out at this point. They're getting ready to die. For example, I know you're working with people in that. You got to be there to support them as a human being, and that means to be able to overlook all of that. So you're not there to convert them to a more universal view. You're there to give them what they need at that moment, which is to be a loving support for them in their process. You know that.
I know that they're sincere. My family is still conservative and Christian.
Yeah.
My husband's family is still conservative and Christian. People here may not have connections to that. They hear about it in the news, but everybody in our family still are. So
yeah.
I know people are sincere. That's part of what makes it so hard. Is that even when I'm being sincere, I don't know what hubris I'm carrying into. I don't know where my own ego is getting a pass and coming into it. And not that I'm second guessing it all the time. It's just that it's confusing. And if Rumi poetry loves confusing joy, I don't know how to love anybody that's not confusing.
Yeah. Okay. We have time enough.
All the wounds caused by any relation to religion be self-liberated and come into the light and be free.
Okay, I'll join in.
We have our own opinion of the light. That's what's interesting when I'm hearing all this.
Well,
We have our own prejudice to what the light is. It works for me, it might work for a friend or two. But we all have that. It's just from a different facet.
At the level of concepts, we would all define everything differently. At the level of experience, perhaps not. Who was it? Somebody was telling me about one of these science fiction shows, in which they were all these different races and different types. They came upon this kind of cosmic experience, right? And each one of them experienced it in a totally different way. It was their whole relationship with it was totally unique to them, but it was, so. That's what the Sufis say, that the levels of knowing. The one is lahut, which is God, or perfection is the way that we imagine it to be. if we can fully imagine it, if we can get our heart into it. So it's, you know, it's as variable as the ocean or Krishna or the sky or, you know, or a person. You know, I mean, it's all of those things. It's whatever we fully give our heart and our depth of where we see perfection to. And then the next level is, how does that perfection see itself? That's the hahut, and without any intermediary at all. That always remains a mystery, you know. That's always the mystery, like you say. What is that light? You know, inshallah, we enter it, and then we know in our own way, according to our own experience. Are there things that people would like to address at this point? I have in mind a few things we can do, but I just want to make sure that we're addressing what's up for you in your practice, in your life. Yes?
Some of you know I'm in the process of moving, sorting and tossing and getting rid of about 3/4 of everything, either to friends or whatever.
La ilaha, that's a good...
Sweeping out.
And it's very stressful, actually, not only physically because it's a lot of work, but emotionally because I'm letting go of things I really love and have loved for a long time. So that I get really sort of in a spaz sometimes, and it's hard to do a practice like Chagall or something when I'm in that state, but I can put the wazifa, whichever one we're working on this month, on my breath. And I was just doing it. I took a little rest up top there. And just put it on the breath, slow it down, put it on the breath. And all of my worries are out here instead of right here because I'm occupied with this. And it's been a real comfort. And I really appreciate having those. The Wahab, Razak, and Yafatah, thinking I am supported, even if it doesn't feel that way, I am supported.
Yeah, and that's why
very useful.
You know, it's true to find some place where you do feel that inner support, and because the very first practice, if you're feeling vulnerable, for example, is to become one with your breath. You know, then all the places out here where you are reactive and taking stuff in aren't present. You're just right here in this world that is present in your breath, and so if you're remembering the only being in some way through a wazifa or this, through thinking of remembering, I'm not separate, remembering oneness, remember toward the one. And becoming one-pointed in that, letting all your awareness be right there in the breath, it's really a perfect practice of overcoming vulnerability, of being protected in atmospheres that are very coarse, and from there you can go to then filling the space that might be threatening, having established a kind of sense of oneness here. In your breath, then, I mean, let's say you're going to be talking before a group and you're nervous, you know, so you come into some kind of oneness in your breath, right? But still you got to go out there and face all these people. Some of them might be, not getting it, some might be opposed to your ideas, all this stuff. So from this place of oneness, you just take in this whole field of people breathing with the sense of, of oneness in this whole field. And, particularly if you're dealing in conflict resolution sort of situations, you have this already, you've already now established a sense where you are one in this atmosphere. So now when you go to talk, you're just, you don't have a sense of separation about it. It's all already within your zone of comfort. So it's good to work right there and to know when you're agitating that, the time, what you need is something really close, something really simple, could go right back into the fundamental work with the breath. Yes?
I had a question about the grammar of the L01, and it's personal just because in my role of passing things on, I people ask about that.
Yeah, it's an idiosyncrasy of Murshid Sam's way of pronouncing it, so you know, in some of the things we continue it because that's the way we received it from him. It is true that Hazrat Khan said that the classical pronunciation of the zikr, La ilaha illallahu, with the ill sound, in our time would benefit from using the S sound, that La ilaha illallahu. And it's quite possible Murshid Sam just decided to use both, the L and the ill sound. Some people said, oh, I heard dervishes in Egypt doing that, and here or there. It's just like lots of things that come through in a particularized way from a teacher, and so, I mean, it's like I used to wake up every morning and he was chanting, Yazal Jalali Wali Kram. Yazal, actually he said it, Yazal Jalal Wali Kram. Yazal Jalal Wali Kram. Yazal Jalal Wali Kram. He didn't do it very long, but that's the way it's done in India. It's not the way it was done in the original Arabic. The sound becomes the Z sound, So things changed a lot. You'll hear these phrases said a lot of different ways. And one thing you can be sure of, that wherever you go, you'll be told you're doing it wrong. So just smile and say, thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
L is in the Hazrat Khan zikr we just did too.
Well, no, that's the Hazrat Khan melody with the phrasing of Murshid Sam, because we just took Halim's lead here. And but if
Don't worry.
no, and that's the way I learned it too. I mean, that's the way I first heard the zikr. The first time I heard the zikr, it was just I went afterwards and I just got into a total state from it, and that was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. So sometimes just how can I say there's something wrong with this practice when it took me to this incredible experience? So it's all in the blessing that you take it from, and then, the sound is related, but, that's a lot of words to try and say when somebody says, why are you doing it that way? And the best thing to say is just, that was one of the ways that Murshid Samuel Lewis did it, and we do it that way. But the Shabda does a lot of time where he will present the zikr of Hazrat Khan because he wants to show that it is in a particular raga, it's Bhairav, and it has this particular kind of notation. And but so then he'll teach it with the sound where you can't tell really whether it's an E or an I. It's kind of la ilaha illallahu. I know I'm not in tune, but that's the idea. And so the answer to your question is. Things are different in different places. I don't know. I don't know, Louise. I can't. People have been asking me this question for more than 40 years, so I don't have the fact that I don't have a better answer than that just shows you that,
We need to quit asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does Ishqallah Mabud Lillah also come from Murshid Sam? Because I understand it's not exactly Arabic.
Well, it does. It does come from Murshid Sam, and Sadi, who is quite a good Arabic scholar, says that it carries the same meaning in as Alhamdulillah, but using instead of Allah, you say Lillah. It includes a meaning of that love that not only issues from the source but returns to the source, or that praise that returns to the source. We say Alhamdulillah instead of just Ya Hamid. I mean, it carries carries with it that sense of direction towards back. I'm offering, that love that comes to me, at the same time I'm offering to Allah. So that's the Alhamdulillah, where it is pronounced that way. But, going back, you look in Murshid's papers going back 50, 60 years, he was offering Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, as the way of doing it. And I know, but when we were at the abode for the JK, and Pirzia came to talk to our gathering, and they greeted him with doing what they call the Pirzia zikr that's come up in the dance movement, which is, using the Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah. And so we have a number of dances and zikrs now in which we're saying Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, which is more grammatically correct, I suppose, from one viewpoint. And, but at the same time, we're not going to stop saying Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, because that's the way we received it from our teacher, and it has his baraka in it. We're not going to stop saying baraka, because the correct way of saying it is baraka, So, so you can get into this is a mind world, but it's all about, our heart's engagement with the blessing of the sacred phrase, the whole history of the sacred phrase was that it was given in a relationship of trust with a blessing that, made it work. So much so that the story of Kabir, who was from the wrong class. He was from a poor Muslim family, but he wanted to study with the great Hindu singer, who would never accept him because he was of the wrong caste and the wrong religion, and so he used to listen to him outside, just to learn, how he was singing and so on. But so one day, though, he hid when every day the teacher would come down into the Ganges and take his ritual bath in the river, and so he hid underneath the stair, and such that when the teacher came, he stepped on his back and he said instinctively, "Ram, Ram." And Kabir jumped up and said, "Thank you so much. Now I've received my mantra from you." And of course, you wouldn't even know anything about the teacher if Kabir hadn't told the story, because Kabir's the one that became, famous for centuries and centuries and centuries with his poetry, but loved by both Muslims and Hindus, and included in the Sikh Granth Sahib as one of the texts in his poetry. So somewhere there's a blending of all of this stuff beyond mind, and as Rumi says, there's a field, I'll meet you there. But we want to take the blessing that is in the transmission, like Murshid said. I give Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, which is the mantra I received from my Hindu guru, freely to anyone with my blessing. So it's like it's something to cherish. It's this kind of a blessing, because it's beyond our sense of how things have value. And some fellow who has a website was complaining about how Murshid Sam in the movie was on the Bernal Hill back there doing Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah. He was doing the call to prayer up there because the motorcyclists were buzzing up and down, trying to get into the picture. He was just for Allah against his background. And, his heart was just wide open. You could just feel the blessing pouring out of him in his devotion. And he says, well, he was pronouncing it wrong. I'm embarrassed to have this, So it's like, it's where you come at something from, what eyes you have that you're seeing with, that allows you, if you have to look with the eyes of Majnun to see the beauty of Layla, So that's our relationship, sometimes to this thing. You don't have to justified so much intellectually as in the inner realization of it is the justification of the worth of it. You know, all the stories they tell about the teacher that corrected the guy that he was doing this practice because he heard, you know, he's a great scholar, and then the guy, you know, and he walks off feeling quite happy, and then the guy walks after him walking on water, and he says, I didn't get it right, you know, but I want to make sure I heard what you said, you know. So, you know, it's another I don't know. And, but that's what I think. But I like to look at it because it helps us understand what's important. Where do we come from? You know, when people criticize the path that you're on, you know, you know, that's their right to do that. You know, but you know in your own heart what its value is, and that's something that can't be taken away from you. And so it's good to have people that can talk, scholar talk, and can talk all of the things that come up and meet things and discourse and dialogue in ways that people can see, oh yeah, we can meet, there's a place where we can meet here, you know. But at the heart level, you know, one I see, one I know, one, you know, one, nothing but one. You know, Joe Miller, don't matter what, yeah, I don't care what name or brand of religion you carry, in the heart in each one of you is one. The essence is in the heart, not attachment and clinging, but that realization of the oneness that is within us all. Yeah, I mean, we're coming from, this is what the world needs, this sense of unity, of harmony, of universal acceptance. Doesn't mean everybody has to become a universalist. You know, people can, you know, take a very limited path and get to a place of realization. And they say the heaven worlds are shaped to receive people of all sorts of, that are looking for all sorts of different things, you know, and everybody's going to get what, you know, they want in a certain way, and yet, you know, beyond that is the essence of it all. So, okay.
I want to just take a moment. I realized I didn't introduce Louise. Louise is someone who has been studying through the videos, and she lives in San Diego. She holds the center there, and she's with us.
Yeah, I'm glad to have people drop in like that have been with us from afar. What's it like to do this course from afar?
It's hard. It's much easier to hear with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beneficial. Very beneficial. I have felt a little bit like a voyeur because I know so many of you, and even if the camera's not on you, I can hear your voice when you ask the questions, and I know whose questions are there. So it's like that you don't know. I'm Yes, we do. Now you do.
Let it rip anyway.
Yeah.
But I have felt great gratitude for everybody coming together, because then those of us who are watching from afar, we get to benefit from this and hear all this and hear your questions and do the practices with you. And so it's been great benefit.
Do you ever stop the video and ask a question and imagine what the answer is? What might Wali always say?
No, but I will admit it takes me forever, because I stop the video and I rewind it. What did he say? How did he say? And I take these like copious notes. It's really it's over.
But that's you, Louise.
I know. It's not so hard for most people.
That's not what I meant. No,
It's really good to have a rewind button. I think we should put one on the class.
I like to put one on some aspects of my, you know, life. You know, just
that one again.
Yeah, the times when I said, 10 seconds of breathing would have solved this whole problem before you just did this or that, Okay,